Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. All right, we are just about ready for game 2 of pool play. It's Pool A and Pool B, but this time it's Pool A, as we've got a battle between Durham and Cleveland, a showdown to try to clinch a spot in the semifinal round. And the way to be able to do that, if you're Durham, you got to stay undefeated. If you win this game, you clinch a spot at least in the playoffs to have a chance to play in the RBI World Series Championship at the junior division. And then if you're Cleveland, you give yourself an opportunity to still have a chance at the 1 seed if you can find a way to win this game. So a lot on the line, and we are going to have here on this Wednesday evening alongside Cam Thomas. My name is Cedric Granger, happy to be with you for the ride as the first pitch is high to Fernando Tirado. And let's run over this lineup for the Cleveland Guardians, clad in red, and they are the road team. And it kind of makes sense. They got the gray pants, and then the home team wearing white in the Durham Bulls. So there's strike one ball and 1 strike to Tirado. He leads things off while Josiah Martinez is batting second. Ryan Shepard is batting third, while Braden Colleran will be batting fourth. Julian Tavares bats 5th, Owen Scanlon bats 6th, Jackson Briggs bats 7th, Finley Barman bats 8th, and Jensen Vargo bats 9th for Coach Carlito's squad. The Cleveland Guardians is there to line drive enters center field. That's down for a base hit. Lead-off single for Tirado, and the Guardians in business early.
That's exactly what you want to do. That's
So here comes the next batter up. 1 runner on for Josiah Martinez. The pitcher, Brody Ludlam, comes set. Now deals his pitch. Bunt shown. It's a well-placed bunt over to the left side. Ludlam reacts quickly but drops the ball. A great bunt there from Martinez. Pushes Tirado to second, and that's 2 runners up, 2 runners on for the Guardians. And that sets things up well for the heart of their order, the 3 and 4. Here's Ryan Shepard, the shortstop. When it comes to the Guardians, they are 0-1, but looking to bounce back here in the second game of the doubleheader. They took on New Orleans earlier on in the game, and they lost 5-3. But it was a very competitive matchup where they got a line drive late in the game by this man, Ryan Shepard. However, was unfortunately caught by the pitcher, if you're a fan of the Cleveland Guardians. And that ended up being the end of that. So here's the shortstop, Shepard, working against Ludlam. He's got Mills doing the catching behind the dish today, as he'll swing and foul that one off to the left side. You have Renteral at first base, Howard at second base. Boulia is in shortstop. Dawes is at third base. You got Hargrove at left field, Taylor in center, and Ellenberg in right field for the Durham Bulls. They're 1-0. They won 7-2 in their first matchup against Passaic, a team hailing from New Jersey. Next pitch is going to be popped in the air. This one's into center field. Catch is made. Throw back down the second base. Tag on the bag. Double play. How about that play as Ryan Shepard had the fly out to center field, but Taylor had the wherewithal to make sure to throw it down to second, and they caught Fernando Tirado off of the bag, and he is put out by means of an 8-4 play. Martinez is on first, one runner on, two down after the double play. And that takes us to Braden Colleran, now with just one runner on. Righty on lefty matchup, and the first pitch is harpooned over towards the right side, and that's through for a base hit. Ullenberg still chasing after it, and that is a single as the other runner, Martinez, makes his way into third, and that puts runners on the corners, already the third base hit of the day for the Guards. So some immediate production from the team that won the Central Division at the junior level, Cleveland. Actually, no, they switched divisions, if I recall correctly, just starting this year. Used to be a part of the Central Division. Now they are in the East Division. So they had that tournament over in Pittsburgh. Ludlam steps off the mound. So this is a turf field, but you do have dirt on the mound. Or at least it looks like that. First pitch. That's taken for a strike, right on the money there. Though Ludlam's given up some hits, that double play has really helped him out. And despite the offensive onslaught by the Guardians, Durham can shut the door. 2 away, 0-1. And that ball falls out of the glove. Mills going to corral it. Here comes Martinez to the plate, and he scores. Pass ball results in the first run of the day for Cleveland. Colleran pushes to second as a result of the play. It's an unearned run. However, the Guardians will take it with a 1-0 lead to start off the game. As I mentioned, with these playoff pools, the top 3 teams in their respective pool, they get to play for an opportunity to play for the RBI World Series Championship, as we'll have a timeout here. Looks like Ludlam is going to go talk and get some time with his coach here. In the case of Pool A, the Southwest champion is the New Orleans Youth Academy. Mid-Atlantic champion is the long ball Durham Nike RBI squad. You're seeing it right in front of you. You have Guardians Nike RBI, who are the winners of the East. And then the Northeast champs are the Passaic Nike RBI. So, good squad there in Pool A. Pool B, it's the Dominican Republic Nike RBI, who won the World region. In the Central region, it was the Chicago White Sox Nike RBI, reigning champs. Southeast, Macon Nike RBI, who had a huge win earlier on in this game, or in this day, I should say. And then in the West, it was the Dodgers Dream Team. Looks like Ludlam's taking care of everything he needed to. Colleran is on second, and the count is 1 ball and 1 strike to the pitcher, Julian Taveras. Righty on righty matchup. Here's the offering. Fastball put on the ground over towards the second base side. Howard scoops and throws it over to first base, and that retires the side. But the Guardians, they get on the board first in the first inning. 3 hits, and the run comes in on a pass ball. Josiah Martinez scores. Guardians lead 1-0 as we head to the bottom of the first here at the RBI World Series. Testing 1 2.
Bottom of the first inning here at the RBI World Series. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing.
Count is 1 ball and 1 strike to Rain Taylor, who leads things off for Durham in the bottom of the first inning as that ball is fouled off to the left side and takes the hop off the telephone line. Count is 1 ball and 2 strikes for Durham. Their lineup is as follows. It's Rain Taylor leading things off. MJ Ellenberg batting second. Matthew Booya is batting third, while Hayden Van Auken bats cleanup. And there's a hard-hit line drive and caught! Air Torado over at second base. And he makes the catch, 1 away in the frame. Here comes MJ Ellenberg up to the plate. Count is 0-1 to him after we just saw a line drive absolutely robbed over there in second base. Puts the breaking ball in the dirt. Let's look at the rest of the lineup. You have Hargrove batting fifth, Mills batting sixth, Howard batting seventh, Winterall batting eighth, and Dawes batting ninth. Look for Durham. 1-1. That ball shot to the right side, but foul. Got put off of the bag into the first base side. Defensively, it's Tavares doing the pitching today, while Vargas is at first base, Vargas at catcher, Collier is at first base, Dorado is at second, Shepard at shortstop, Briggs at third, Vargas Ortiz in left, Barman in center, and Martinez in right. 1-2 pitch. The scored starting pitcher today, William Tavares. First strikeout. That one's going to be shot. Playable for the first baseman. Toss it over to the pitcher. Race to the bag. And just in time. Ellenberg tried to get a nice head first slide. However, the play was 3 feet just there. It was a 3-1 ground out. So 2 up, 2 down here for Tavares. Player that's out of North Royalton High School, class of 2027. First pitch, ball fly out in the air by Matthew Booya. That one pushed back to center field. Barman goes back, makes the catch, and that's a quick 3 up, 3 down. We're headed to the top of the second inning. With the Guardians up 1-0 here on MLB.com. That's right. Yeah.
One inning up, one inning down in Game 2 for each of these squads at the RBI World Series Junior Division between the Cleveland Guardians and the Durham Bulls. And we have the 6, 7, 8 in the lineup due up for Cleveland. The count is 2 balls and no strikes. Owen Scanlon leads things off, while Jackson Briggs and Finley Barman are also due up in this frame. It's a righty on lefty matchup. And the Guardians, they're going to look to continue being strong with the bats. They came out on fire with 3 base hits in their first 4 batters. However, a double play prevented them from scoring more runs. A good defensive play on the part of Durham, who are 1-0. Guardians 0-1. Here's the next pitch. That sails outside, and it's a 4-pitch walk. Scanlon is aboard at first base now. This will bring us to Jackson Briggs. Briggs is a third baseman. Attends Brunswick High School, which is in the greater Cleveland area. It's an area I'm pretty familiar with. Have some friends from the Cleveland area. One runner aboard, 1-0. That's taken high of the zone for ball 2. So 6 straight pitches out of the zone to start things off for Ludlam in the second. Did not walk any batters and was finding the strike zone decently enough. However, a lot of players were able to barrel up some of the pitches. 2-0. That ball sliced foul over to the right side. So overall, you got 24 baseball and softball teams from every region of the United States, plus the Dominican Republic, plus Puerto Rico, all competing in this tournament. That gives you a grand total of 325 athletes representing 17 different cities. And then in those cities, there are a lot of different towns and everything around that. As there's a ball that's hammered over to center field. Taylor does have room and makes the catch on the run. He had to fully extend to make that catch on the run, but well done by Taylor. Let nothing get over his head. After the fly ball to center field, this takes us to the batter who's hitting in the 8th spot, Finley Barman. I was talking with Kevin Malater, who does a lot of the broadcasts for Windy City Sports Network. He talked about how the Chicago, they definitely miss having some of the Ohio teams as that ball is hit over towards left field, and it's a fair ball. Fair ball just snuck in fair. I think both teams might have thought that was heading towards foul territory. I thought it certainly was, but it hung up in the air and just stayed inside the left field line. That's a base hit for Barman. Pushes Scanlon to second. 2 aboard with just 1 away. And the hits continue to rain in. That is now 4 base hits. 1-0 lead for the Guardians. And for the first time today, here's Jensen Vargo. Bunt shown, and it's a wild pitch. So the second wild pitch pass ball situation. Now's the Guards in business. Double play is off, and runners at second and third. But going back to that story, when it came to the Cleveland Guardians as well as the Cincinnati Reds youth academies, they used to always go over to Chicago to play, and that was always great for viewership and for the broadcast and just good regional competition for the White Sox youth organization and all the other Chicago youth organizations to get to match up. However, this year, switching it up to play over at Pittsburgh, and I was talking to a friend of mine named Sarah who works with the Reds Urban Youth Academy, and she was describing how different of a change. Instead of going out to Chicago, now switching it up and going out to Pittsburgh. Significantly closer of a drive for people in Cleveland, at least. The Cincinnati folks, it was pretty much equidistant. After the conference on the mound, 1 ball and no strikes to Jensen Vargo, the catcher. 1-0 delivery, fastball. This one is popped in the air, could be playable. Renterall tracking it down, makes the catch over at first base. No runners tag up, and that's 2 away. So after the foul out, here comes another situation where Ludlam was in the last inning, where he had a couple of runners on. It had a chance to get out of the frame with minimal damage given up. It only yielded 1 run. Now looking to keep the score at 1 as we turn over the lineup card back to Torado. Torado attends Rhodes High School. Is in the class of 2027. See guys from classes of 2026, 2027, and occasionally a 2028 class as well. Next pitch taken a little bit high, 2 balls and no strikes. Next pitch is inside, 3 balls, no strikes, and just like that, Torado up in the count, and Ludlam on the precipice of loading the bases. It's got to be a strike here from Ludlam. And he does just that, right over the heart of the plate. So again, the Guardians, they need a win here to put themselves in a good spot in pool play right now. They're 0-1. And now it's taken for strike 2. I think Torado is already halfway to first base. But a strike was called. 3 balls and 2 strikes, 2 away. Will look like a potential lost batter for Ludlam. He's now right back in the count. "3-2. That ball chopped hard on the ground over to the third baseman. Dawes settles, throws, and is in time. And that retires the side with not 1 but 2 runners left in scoring position. But the Guardians still have the lead as we head to the bottom of the first inning in Game 2 at the RBI World Series. bottom of the second inning, and the Durham Bulls have grabbed the bats to try to tie this up or take the lead. It's the 4, 5, 6 in the order. Hayden Van Auken leading things off, while Ethan Hargrove is batting second, and Keenan Mills, the 3, due up in the frame for the Bulls. You'll see a nice mix of teams. There's a breaking ball, misses the zone for a ball from Julian Tavares. Count as 2 balls, no strikes. But you see some teams that are based out of the minor leagues team system. So the Durham Bulls, it's the AAA for the Tampa Bay Rays. And then you also have some teams that are kind of branded around their major league market with the major league academies. So it's always interesting to see that. But either of these teams, whether you're a AAA team or a major league team, you're always finding ways to be able to make differences in your communities. There's actually correction, it is Ludlam who's there. So 2-2 to Ludlam, who's up. And he'll take a pitch low. And it's 3 balls and 2 strikes. Next offering is drilled foul over to the left side. Did see the ball decently well, but just a little bit late on the swing. I was talking earlier with the vice president of baseball and softball development, and David James, and he was talking about not only having these developmental programs at the major league teams, so of course the 30 major league teams, but also the 120 minor league ballparks that are going on as well. And when you get all those little communities, you're not only getting your big cities like your Clevelands, your Cincinnatis, your Pittsburghs, Chicagos, but you're also now starting to hit some of the other big markets. And there are also some pretty big cities represented in AAA too, and some of the other minor league affiliates. So the 3-2 misses the zone, and there's a walk. So now it's Hayden Van Auken, who is now up at the plate, and we'll have a pinch runner come into the game, which makes sense given that it was the pitcher hitting. And that is Cannon Close. So here is Van Auken now up at the plate. Just a little check there by Tavares. Here's the pitch. That one's upstairs. Count as 1 ball and no strikes. Righty on righty matchup in this battle between the guards from Cleveland, Ohio, Durham from North Carolina. If you're the Guardians, you've got to avoid falling to 0-2. That'll put you at the brink of elimination. Runner goes, pitches a strike, throw down to second is offline and goes into the outfield. And it's still being corralled by Barman. He finally picks it up. It's actually Martinez who gets it. Long throw to third base. But it's already too late. Close is already at third. So stolen base plus error now puts the tying run 90 feet away here in the bottom of the second. One-one, chopped right up the middle, right over the pitcher's head. Shortstop Shepard will take the short route here. Does pick up an out, but that's exchanged for a run. Close comes in to score. Van Auken picks up the RBI ground out, and it's now all tied here in Vero Beach. Playing here at Determination Field. And there's many different fields over here. You got field integrity, field teamwork, where yesterday the senior team for Durham, they had a matchup against Newark yesterday over there. There's a ball to put on the ground, and that's a fair ball. Keenan Mills was able to sneak it past the first baseman, but he'll respect the armor Martinez out in the right field and take his base hit, the first base knock of the day for Durham. So now the Bulls picking up some momentum, trying to recapture some of that energy that they had in their win against Passaic. They put up 7 runs as we have another pinch runner into the game. It's going to be number 20, Andrew Manthey. So Manthey into pinch run, and here's Neil Howard, the second baseman. Runner thinks about going on the first pitch. It'll go back, count his own 1. Runner goes, pitch is chopped up the middle. Runner safe at second. Throw down to first base is on time, and then there's a ball that goes awry. So runner working his way to third. Ball is all the way towards the dugout. Here comes Manthey coming into the plate, and the throw misses the catcher. Some pandemonium on the base pass. Puts the Bulls in the lead here in the bottom of the second. So runner is out, at least the batter Neil Howard. However, by putting the ball in play, some mistakes happened, and on the second error, the Bulls find themselves with a run. 2-1. Durham in front of Cleveland. So we see our first lead change here today. This will take us to Alvin Renterall, the first baseman. Righty on lefty matchup. And the ball is hit right down the middle over to the shortstop, Shepard. Shepard corrals, throws it, and the ball goes awry again. That ball is towards the Guardians' dugout. Hustling around first, going to second. Renterall slides, and he is out. Tried to work his way to first after the error, pushed his luck towards second, but the Guardians able to make the play and bounce back from the mistakes. But Durham, they make Cleveland pay here in the bottom of the second. 2-1 lead for Durham as we head to the third inning here at the RBI World Series. Check. Top of the third inning, and we have a lead change here in Vero Beach as the Durham Bulls, team hailing from North Carolina, they take the lead over the Ohio-based Cleveland Guardians by a score of 2-1. And now Ludlum pitching with the lead for the first time, deals his first pitch, and it's a called strike to Josiah Martinez. You'll see him, Shepard, and Colleran. Those are the three that you'll see for the Guards. My name is Cedric Granger, and now working here with Cam Thomas. Welcome to the broadcast. After some technical difficulties, glad to have you on, my friend.
Yeah, glad to be here, Cedric, and of course, excited to call a bunch of baseball this weekend. This has been a very good matchup so far.
It certainly is. This is a good first impression here. There's a ball that's put on the ground. It's off the mound, moving over towards the second base bag was Howard. Makes the play and throws it over to first. One down.
Yeah, we saw a couple of defensive miscues in the first and second inning. And I think that, are some of the early jitters. I know these guys had an opportunity to play yesterday, but, kind of settling in and dealing with all the things at prep and things like that. I think now you see both these teams starting to lock in.
So that's one away. Here is Ryan Shepard. He'll take strike one on a breaking ball. What's big to think about Cleveland Guardians, you have to lock in this situation. You fall to 0-2, you're really at risk for elimination, and you kind of lose control of your own destiny. And once you get that first win, you know that there is mathematically no possibility of missing the playoffs and missing the opportunity to potentially fight into the RBI World Series championship as long as you can win 2 games. But if you are at that 1-win mark, it can come down to tiebreakers, and if you win nothing, you are going home.
Yeah, so Durham is really playing here, with house money, so to speak. They want to come out, they want to compete, and they want to win, but ultimately the pressure's on the Guardians.
Next pitch is a breaking ball that misses low.
And I've really been impressed with Ludlam on the hill. I know he had some struggles, kind of early in the first inning, but he's really settled in. He continues to throw strikes, and I think that is important, particularly at this level.
That's right. And also, one thing to note, multiple pitches for strikes is a huge thing, too. That separates a lot of pitchers. If you have a fastball, you have a curveball or a slider or a changeup that you can throw for strikes with consistency, it makes you even more dangerous. 2-2 is fouled backwards, and we'll do the count again. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Shepard, who is 0 for 1 on the day. He had a fly out to center field, which ultimately resulted in a double play. Not your normal one. An F8 and then an 8-4 putout. 2-2. Breaking ball hammered into the air, over towards center field. Taylor loses his hat, but not the baseball as he makes the catch for out number 2.
Yeah, Taylor's had to range kind of around today to make some really good plays, particularly tracking the ball back, moving to his left, moving to his right. He gets a really good first step, and I think that's always important as an outfielder, particularly with your first step being back. You've got to be able to understand where you need to go and quickly, and his routes to the baseball have been really good here early.
They have, and it's forced a couple of outs here today. That's his 3rd catch that he's made out there in the outfield. This takes us to Braden Colleran, first baseman for the Guardians. The tall lefty stands in. First pitch. And he'll chop that one. Put it into play. Nice glove there from Rennerall. Reliable as ever at first base. Steps on the bag, and that is a quick 3 up, 3 down. First 1-2-3 inning of the day for Ludlam. We're headed to the home half of the 3rd inning where the Bulls look to add more to their lead when we come back on MLB.com. Durham looks to add to their lead as we begin the bottom of the third inning. Bulls clad in all white today, home whites. Guardians in their red jerseys. The first pitch flung high up in the air by Ryan Dawes. Here comes the shortstop. Shepard tracks the ball, makes the catch. And that's one pitch, one out for Julian Taveras.
That's one thing that I've been pretty impressed with here early, too. These guys have not been afraid to get the bat off the shoulder. And I think in an era where run production is so important, particularly early in ball games when pitchers are settling in and just trying to get their feel free to let it rip.
That's right. That's what we saw from the Macon squad earlier today, as there's a ball that's chopped on the ground. We're back over to the top of the order with Taylor running in to make the play as Torado. And that is 2 up, 2 down.
Boy, Taylor's got some speed.
Yeah,
down
check that.
line,
No, I think he's actually safe, rather. So he is safe.
Look, and Torado stayed back on that baseball and kind of gingerly came up to the ball. One hand grabbed it with the glove hand and tried to throw it first in time. And, I mean, Taylor was moving down the line. You have got to come up and almost make that play on the run, flip throw under the left hand, and get it done.
Yeah, it was not bad of a play, but again, just the speed of Taylor there. He's had a pretty productive game offensively and defensively as he has his first hit. Runner goes on the first pitch. Ball hit up in the air. Torado with a chance for some redemption. Makes the catch falling backwards, or backpedaling, I should say. And that's 2 outs.
That's why they typically tell you, as an infielder, particularly one where you've got the play right in front of you, you've got to look up and check a couple of times before you make that play, before you decide internally, okay, here's how I'm going to approach this baseball, because you got to see how your guy is moving down the line.
Runner goes on the first pitch, pitches a strike, throw down to second base, not in time. Taylor was trying to steal second all the way. We saw it with the last plate appearance, and now he does it here with Matthew Bulia up. Count is 0-1. However, Taveras did fill up the strike zone.
Well, and that's why that mental error is so important right there, because guys like Taylor, particularly at this level, they get the first, they're getting the second in a heartbeat.
And sometimes an effective offense can just be by doing some small ball, whether it's just moving guys around, or in some cases, some runners are so talented in this RBI World Series, they can manufacture runs on their own, force mistakes. I feel like Taylor has the ability to make that sort of impact. And imagine, Cam, it's such a challenge, too, as a pitcher when you have a base runner that's twitchy like this and always is keeping you on your heels.
Yeah, it's really, it's the responsibility of your middle infielders to keep him there. I think, Torado's not necessarily chopping the bag as much as he should. I mean, he's letting Taylor get a 3-4 step lead.
That curveball hammered over to right center. That's down for a base hit. Taylor sprinting his way around third. He can jog his way on home. He scores. Play back at first base. Bulia slides in, and he's got himself an RBI single. And the Durham Bulls add to their lead. They're up 3-1 here in Vero Beach.
Right, so we always talk about baseball being a game of strategy and positioning. If Torado holds Taylor a little bit closer, keeps him honest in second base, and he gets a 2-step lead instead of a 4-step lead, maybe your right fielder in Martinez is able to make that throw home and you don't have to cut him off. Therefore, you're saving this from being a 2-run ball game. Now Durham has an opportunity to add to what already is a nice lead.
Ludlam trying to have some pitcher-on-pitcher crime here as he takes strike one, low and away, kind of in that small portion of the zone where it's really hard to even swing at, given just the location. Good pitch there from Taveras. He'll look to do it again. 0-1. This time a little bit high. And count runs even 1-1. So want to note the fatigue that happens sometimes with these 2 games in one day sort of format. Not to mention the travel has been absolutely crazy for a lot of these teams coming down, just of course due to the hurricane that is going down in certain parts of Florida.
Not to mention the rainfall that you're seeing all across the East Coast. I mean, we were talking to the Durham coaches earlier, and they said, look, we've had rain for 14 straight days. So
runner goes, pitches a strike. It won't matter, though. He rung him up. That's out number 3. And that is the inning. However, the Durham Bulls, they continue to add to their lead. It's an RBI single for Matthew Boulia, driving in Rain Taylor. We're headed to the fourth inning where the Guardians will try to get back in the game when we come back here on MLB.com.
Five, six, seven due up in the order for the Guardians as they move to the top of the fourth inning at the dish. Tavares has looked pretty good on the hill, and although despite the fact that Durham has put up 3 runs, he has looked dominant on the hill. Let's see if he can help his team out at the plate, Cedric.
Yeah, that's something that's interesting, especially with the youth game when you're in between ages 13 to 18. You see it a lot, especially when I was covering high school, pitchers that you hit because you're one of the best athletes on the field, and you get to kind of have both dynamics of the pitcher versus hitter matchup.
Ludlam misses low. Makes the count 3 balls, no strikes.
So we've seen the pitcher versus pitcher matchup on the other side where Ludlam got a walk and a run scored. Well, his pinch runner got a run scored eventually, so he was able to beat him that way. Then on the other side, Tavares, he grounded out against Ludlam, now trying to get his first base hit against him.
3-1 now the count. Here's a pitch. Upstairs, Tavares works a 5-pitch walk. Pitcher on pitcher. Guardians win the best of that matchup.
Yeah, so a little bit of a pattern there. So first time that Ludlam faced Tavares, Ludlam earned a walk and then was struck out, and then we go back and we inverse it where Tavares is retired by Ludlam, and then the second time he's up, he walks.
Brings in Owen Scanlon, the DH. Digs in from the left side. Walked. Was left stranded in his first appearance. And when we get to these meatier parts of the game and middle innings, I think this is where you've got to see a little bit more pressure offensively if you're the Guardians.
Yeah, very much so. And it just starts by getting base hits. It seems like Ludlam, he is really settled into the game as the game has gone on. The Guardians were on his pitches early, but it seems like the adjustments that he made, that his coaching staff's made, of course we got to talk with Coach James, this staff, they've done a really good job of putting their players in a position to succeed, and the players now for executing over these last couple of innings after it seemed like the Guardians couldn't be stopped on offense. Also go back, Cam, to a situation where the Guardians maybe could have gotten more runs out of certain situations. We think about the first inning where they had a double play happen due to a batter, or a runner, I should say, tagging up, or leaving early instead of tagging up.
2-0 misses low, and first time we've seen Ludlam fall behind to hitters.
Yeah, certainly makes a difference here. If you can get ahead early in the count, it gives you all your pitch count and all the different pitch varieties you have. But then when you're Down the count like that, you can't miss, and if you do, that's what happens.
Back-to-back walks. Going to bring in Griggs. And time on the field is have a conversation between the pitching coach and Ludlam. I mean, look, he's gotten you through 3 strong innings so far. And ultimately, it can be a tough decision to try to say, hey, do we keep this guy in? But I think they're going to make the decision to go ahead and pull him here. And I think it's the right call. You see back-to-back at-bats like that, it's tough to not make that decision being up by 2 runs.
Yeah, and you can trust the bullpen a little bit here if you are a fan of Durham back at home. And, again, like you said, 3 innings brought through. It is a bit of a jam now with runners on first and second. This is where you try to find a guy that can come in and give you some solid innings, as it looks like we'll have a new pitcher on the mound. Like warming up his arm is number 2, who actually is the second baseman, but now moving to pitcher. It's Neil Howard who's warming up.
Howard wasn't originally in the lineup. Pinched hit earlier. We'll let him get some warm-up pitches in, and we will rejoin you here in just a minute. It's the Nike RBI World Series from Vero Beach. Brings in Jackson Griggs to go toe-to-toe with Howard, who moves from second to the mound. Ludlam will now move from the mound to second. And Sid, why don't you give us a final line for Ludlam?
Yeah, Ludlam, 3 innings pitched in this game, 3 hits, 1 run given up. However, he's still responsible for the 2 runners that are currently on the base paths. He has walked 3, struck out nobody. However, there were times where he was able to really generate some outs for his squad. His defense made some plays behind him, and he forced some weak contact. However, the command, it was up and down and wavered, but not a bad start here. Get you through the first 3 innings, but now it really sets the table here for Neil Howard. 2 runners on the base paths and nobody out. So this is a tough spot.
Here's the 1-1. Upstairs, swing and a miss from Griggs. Couldn't catch up to it.
Yeah, some nice velocity there on that fastball. And now that he showcased the speed there, I wonder if he'll work a off-speed or some sort of breaking ball off of that.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Howard gets the job done. First out of the innings recorded for the Durham Bulls.
Yep, exactly what you needed. So now when you got runners on the base pass, what's great is if you have a reliever that's a high strikeout guy. So you got some guys that more pitch to avoid barrels and can force groundouts. But if you have a guy who you know has some really good strikeout stuff, that is huge, especially with runners on the base pass.
Brings in Barman from the left side, center fielder today. Fouled out in his first appearance. Taps one foul down the right field line. So he's 1 for 1 today with the single. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, 2 runners on in the top of the 4th. Popped up, shallow left field. Shepard's going back. Can't make the catch. Goes off his glove. Center fielder's going to throw to second to Ludlam. He's going to go to third with it. Not in time, so they get an out at second. But runners will be at the corners as it'll be an E6 in the books. I don't know that was outside of the range of what Shepard could deem reasonable.
Yeah, I'd say it was E6. He was definitely camped out under that, but we'll have an official scoring decision at some point. But nevertheless, what's great, and I want to point out there from the shortstop in that situation, was just, hey, settle in. Even if you drop the ball, do a good job of still corralling yourself. There's still time for an out, and he was able to get that one over at second on the force.
They're going to try to get this runner caught up between second and third, but they will allow Barman to get to second. So Barman's at second. Tavares is at third. Scanlon was one that got thrown out on the drop ball. And then Griggs struck out. So Vargo's the only chance here for them to cash in. He pops this one up down the right field line, giving chase the first baseman, but he can't get there. Out of play.
And we'll see what Vargo can do. Didn't make contact the first time he was up, but was popped up in foul territory. So we'll see what the catcher has for Cleveland. Still plenty of time left in this game, but if you're the Guardians, you alleviate some of the pressure on your squad if you can just eat into this lead, especially when you got two runners in scoring position.
0-2 pitch. Misses inside. Popped up, left field. Mills is there. He'll make the catch in left for out number 3. So the Guardians get dangerous here in the top of the 4th, but can't cash in as they leave 2 runners aboard. We move to the bottom half of the inning. It's a 3-1 lead for Durham over Cleveland. Meat of the order due up for Durham here in the bottom of the 4th inning as Tavares delivers the first pitch strike. It's Vanviken, Mills, and Howard due up for the Bulls, who lead by 2 runs. Back-to-back curveballs. Bender working here for Tavares as he's ahead of the count. No balls, 2 strikes. See if he brings some heat here on the payoff pitch. Swing and a tapper. Shortstop's got it. In time for out number 1.
It's a great way to get things started if you're the Cleveland Guardians. Defensively, they know they're going to have to stiffen up and keep the deficit at 2. If you have any big innings from Durham, they can run away, just like they did in their first matchup against Passaic in their 7-2 victory.
So Mills will dig in. Left fielder today, singled back in the second. First pitch strike. Tavares has done a really good job the last couple innings keeping these runners at bay and only allowing them to kind of eke across a couple of runs here and there. Defensively, they've made a couple of mental errors, have the Guardians, but outside of that, the pitching has been fantastic today.
That's right. They still kept it pretty low scoring. However, it's just going to have to be brought up even an extra higher notch for this one. Especially like we mentioned, Guardians 0-1 right now, Cams, with the loss to New Orleans. Right now, New Orleans, they look like they are the team to beat. They were up 3-0 last time I checked against Passaic.
Pop up, center field. Berman's going over. He'll make the catch in center for the out. 2 up, 2 down.
And when looking at the score now, the New Orleans Youth Academy, they're up 7-0 over Passaic. That's the team Durham will play. So if this score were to hold, Durham would play New Orleans for the opportunity to get an automatic trip to the semifinal and not even have to play in the quarterfinal game. So that'd be huge. As for Cleveland, they have a date with Passaic, and that could be a playoff game that determines who makes the last playoff spot. What's also interesting is that chances are you might see these 2 teams rematch at some point, given how the standings are shaken up so far. But you never know.
0-1 to Howard. In there, strike 2. You know, it's really interesting. Tavares started this inning with 2 12-6 curveballs. I mean, just loopers. And he started hitters off with that a little bit more as the game has progressed. Tapper, first base side. Colleran's got it. He'll step on the bag. Cleanest inning of the night for Tavares. We move to the top of the 5th. It's a 3-1 lead for Durham over Cleveland at the Nike RBI World Series. Top of the order due up for Cleveland as we move to the top of the 5th inning. Cam Thomas alongside Cedric Granger as we are here at the Nike RBI World Series Junior Division pool play. And Cedric, this game has been a little bit of some ups and downs, but I felt like towards the end of this ball game, both of these teams have had a little bit of a lull, and you want the energy to come back here.
Well, a little bit, but then you also got to say it's the pitchers and the defense that have stepped up. When you look at the score, I think a lot of people tend to put it in the shoes of what the offense is doing. If the offense isn't humming, then, there's a lull in the game. The energy is not picking up. No, it might just be that the defense and the pitching has just been that much better. We've seen some low-scoring, great battles in the Nike RBI World Series. We think about yesterday in the senior division, Braves and White Sox, 3-2 game, fantastic pitching, where there was a game where the White Sox, they had a guy pitch 6 innings in the game and then had a closer come in and finish off the job. Again, when the pitching and defense is doing well, that's ultimately the thing that wins championships. You think about World Series and the teams that win the World Series every year, usually have one of the better pitching staffs in the league.
Falling behind in the count 3-0 has Howard, and he gives up a 4-pitch walk to the Guardians' leadoff man, Torado, who has now reached base twice today. He's had himself a pretty decent day so far.
Yeah, and you need that production from the top of the lineup here for the Guardians. If we look at the top of the order between their first 2 batters, Tirado and Martinez, they are combined 2 for 4 with a walk.
Brings in Jojo Martinez, right fielder. He singled and scored back in the first, grounded out to second in the third.
I'd love to see the Guardians be pretty aggressive on the base paths here. Maybe go for some steals, try to manufacture some of your own luck.
And we haven't seen Cleveland run it all that much today. Durham has a couple of stolen bags to their credit. Infield is playing kind of shallow, particularly on the left side of the infield, which is surprising here with no outs.
Right.
You would think you'd play big and play for that double play ball up the middle. Third baseman is shaded about 7-8 steps to the right of the bag.
Yeah, if you have any sort of opposite power, which won't matter now, but anything over to that left side, if you could get it past the third baseman, hug that line, you'd be in good shape. Or even a bunt down the third base line could have been pretty solid as well. But it won't matter now that there's 2 runners on the base paths. Tying run now at first base, and now go-ahead run up at the plate for Cleveland.
So this is the tough thing, right? For relievers, you come in a jam spot in the last inning. You got the adrenaline going. You already got a couple of outs on the board, so it allows you to lock in and focus. How different is that when you're a reliever and you come in with a fresh inning?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a little bit different than what most relievers will come in, because you wouldn't be playing defense before. He was playing at defense and at a high leverage position at second base, where he did have a couple of plays come his way, but it's a whole different mentality when you're there as a pitcher, and it can be tricky. And this is where I do see some bullpen activity starting to happen over with Durham. This might be one where you have multiple guys come in, maybe to take an inning apiece to try to get you through this game. Especially Durham, they know what's on the line. If they win today, Cam, they know that they have a spot in either the quarterfinal or even a chance at the semifinal if they can beat New Orleans.
Howard falling behind 2-0. In there, strike 1. Shepard's gotten the ball in the air a couple of times today. The lefty has flown out to center in both of his appearances today. See if he can find a gap and try to get a couple of these Guardians runs across.
It's been easier said than done today, as Taylor's been very rangy at center field.
3-1. Misses low. 5-pitch walk. 3 straight walks for Howard, and I think the hook is coming. They had a guy warming up in left that was getting hot quick, and it looks like they're going to make the change. So we'll tell you all about the new arm right after this. Bases loaded, no outs, top of the 5th, 3-1 lead for Durham over Cleveland. Top of the fifth. New arm on the hill is Manti, who was involved in this game earlier. Now comes in to pitch. Howard goes to the bench. But bases are loaded. No outs. Top of the fifth inning. Colleran at the dish. Lefty takes first pitch strike.
Yeah, he was taking that first pitch all the way. It seems like since the command has fallen off for Durham, it seems like Colleran was going to take that the whole time just to see, can the new guy throw some strikes?
Great job behind the plate. Keeping it there. Count even.
Yeah, Mills, like I said, doing really well behind the dish. We've already seen some wild pitches and pass balls score runs. It was a pass ball that actually allowed the Guardians to score their lone run of the game so far. That was back in the first inning.
Maybe one of the most pivotal points of this ball game. 2-1 pitch on its way to Colleran. Swinging a line drive into center field. Taylor's there. He'll make the catch. Runner tags. Here's the throw to third. And Toronto will score. It's a 3-2 ball game as Colleran gets the sac fly in the air. They're going to go back and check third base and see if Toronto left early.
Yeah, there's certainly an argument for it. He hesitated actually for a second in the middle of the base pass, which the only reason you'd ever hesitate is if you might think there was some sort of issue with the tag up. We don't have instant replay here. That's 2 outs in the inning.
They say 2 outs in the inning. So they just called Toronto at third base out.
So it's 3-1.
3-1 ball game, and Toronto is out as he did not leave the bag in time.
Yep, and that makes sense to me. There's a reason why he kind of hesitated in between third and home when he was on his way back. So, again, that could have been a sacrifice fly, but a mental mistake there. At least what we have right now seems to have cost Cleveland, but we'll make sure to get that all cleared up on everything as we get into our commercial break. But
no balls,
3-1.
No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs to Taveras. Misses low. And again, big part of this game to see it at 3-1. Taveras grounds it to third. They'll run into the runner, and that will end the top of the fifth. So a couple of runners get stranded, and it's a 3-1 ball game as the Guardians couldn't cash in. We move to the bottom of the fifth inning. Durham will come back to the dish. Bottom of the 5th inning in a crazy top half as the Cleveland Guardians had the bases loaded. Runner from third left early, so couldn't cash in on a sacrifice fly, and would have been a 3-2 ball game with 1 out. Instead, you got 2 outs on the board after the runner doesn't tag. I mean, it just blew things up out of proportion here as Rinterall flies that one into center. Be an easy catch for Berman for out number 1.
Yeah, and for the Guardians, you're kicking yourself now because you had runners at first, second, and third, nobody out, new pitcher coming in. You had a well-hit ball deep to center field, which was all you needed, but then a mental mistake there not to tag up in that situation. You get excited, you leave the bag a little bit early, and cost you a run. And now it makes a great situation for Mantha where he came in, bases loaded, nobody out, and didn't give up a run. How incredible is that?
If Durham goes on to win this game, Cleveland is going to want to have that situation back because of how pivotal that piece of the game was.
It should. I think this is one of the only sequences where almost all times errors should be on the defense, but that could be one where an error could be applied to an offense.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, bottom of the 5th. Taveras' pitch. Outside. How about Taveras? We talked about the last couple of innings that he's worked through, but to settle on the mound through everything else that is going on is impressive.
Yeah, if he has himself a great inning here, I think that is huge for getting to reset things for the Guardians. So right now, the mental mistake, that's something that could bring down an entire dugout, and that could be something that could send you into a downward spiral. It's up to the defense right now for the Guardians to be like, hey, we're not going to let this happen. We're 0-1 right now. We have to win this game if we don't want to be at the brink of elimination. And that's the type of pitch to do it, a nice breaking ball.
And I'll tell you what, he probably had a really good teacher to show him that breaking ball in his dad, Julian Taveras, who played 17 seasons in the major leagues for 11 different clubs.
Yeah, 11 different clubs there. That's over 1,400 innings of work in his career. Impressive.
So back to the top of the order, and Taylor swings through a first pitch strike.
Yeah, the stuff is good from Taveras. We've seen that curveball where there's pronounced break, and that's something that you see sometimes at the younger level where you have pitchers that can throw a breaking ball, but it doesn't get too much break on it, so it ends up just kind of hanging there a little bit. His breaking ball tends to not hang as much, and that's really impressive for a player at his age. This is the 13 to 15-year-old division right here.
Popped up. Shallow center field. Shortstop can't find it, but the left fielder comes in and makes the catch. What a play by Ortiz to in the 5th.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. That's the type of play that can save the game and maybe generate some momentum for your offense that's coming up to bat at the top of the 6th.
What a play by Ortiz in left. He holds the pressure here in the bottom half of the inning. We move to the 6th, 3-1 lead for Durham over Cleveland. Scanlon, Griggs, and Barman due up for the Guardians here in the top of the 6th inning. 3-1 lead for Durham over Cleveland, and Cleveland's got some work to do. They want to claw back into this one.
Yeah, they were given a really good break as Howard walked 3 straight to start off the inning, and then Manthe comes in. Mistake happens on the base paths, and all of a sudden Manthe feeling himself now on the mound.
Big swing and a hack on strike 3 for Scanlon. He'll take a mosey back to the dugout. First time he's been sat down today. He's found a way to get on the bases for most of the afternoon. Brings in Griggs from the right side. He's 0 for 2 today. Flew out and struck out back in the 4th.
So now the second pitcher of the day for the Durham Bulls is off the books. Neil Howard, 1 inning pitched, no hits, no runs, no earned run, 3 walks, and 1 K in a very unorthodox way.
Popped up. And shortstop's there. Makes the catch. Seen a lot more soft contact the last couple innings. Early in the game, first, second, third, we saw a lot of hard line drives, a lot of pop-ups to the outfield, guys getting underneath the ball. Now you really feel like guys are out in front. Guys may be trying to do a little bit too much because the pressure's there.
That's right, that's right. As the sand in the hourglass starts to run thin, it makes it very difficult. You start to feel that pressure. And you look at the Guardians, 4 hits in the first 2 innings, but no hits since then.
Brings in Barman, lines this one in the left center field gap. Will Taylor get there? He will on the run. Makes the catch for out number 3. Man, he's been golden in center today. We move to the bottom of the 6th. Still a 3-1 lead for Cleveland, or for Durham over Cleveland.
And I got you ready. Okay.
Andres Solar, pinch hitter, will dig in. So Tots, rather.
Yep, Sotak coming in.
Hitting for Ullenberg, who's had a rough day at the dish. So trying to pad on to what already is a 3-1 lead for Durham.
Yep, Sotak from Jordan High School, class of 2028.
Fouls it back to the screen, strike 2. I'll tell you what, though. You know, we've talked a lot about Taveras on the mound today as he works into his 6th and potential final inning, barring a couple of runs coming across in the bottom half of the inning. He has looked marvelous against these hitters.
Yeah, I mean, if he can finish this inning off right here, this would be a quality start by MLB definition, not just youth league definition, but MLB definition. And I have to say, the pitching overall, a lot of bend but do not break.
Yeah.
That's been the situation over primarily with Durham and then with Tavares just the one rough inning in the third, and then errors by the defense cost us. So not even all the runs that were given up were earned.
0-2's outside. Starting to cool off a little bit here at Vero Beach. We've had the temperature rise up into the high 90s in the last couple of days, but overcast and starting to feel a breeze come through here. It feels pretty good, huh, Seth?
Yeah, it definitely does. The wind speed's definitely picking up a little bit. We'll see if it aids any of the batters at all.
Here's the 1-2. Curveball, tapped through, past the 4-hole, base hit. Well, if you're Sotak, you get put in that position, you got to find a way to battle, and he got it done.
Called a Sotak attack right there on that breaking ball. So I was mentioning how a lot of times Tavares did a good job getting some good pronounced break on his pitch. That time with his curveball, it did not break enough that time. It kind of hung up there, and that gave plenty of opportunity for Sotak to see the ball all the way in, get a great swing on it, as it looks like Durham is going to have a pinch runner in, and they're looking to add some insurance runs. That'd be huge for their pitching staff that at times has lost their command.
Just for that at bat.
So that's Ullenberg who is back in now.
So he'll re-enter and move back to left field, or right field rather.
He's all good. It's a re-entry. So that was just for that bat.
So home plate umpire making a couple of changes here to his scorebook. As we think about all the action still to come here this week. These young men may play 2 today, but they could have plenty more to play as the week continues to go on.
Yeah, not to mention with storms happening at any moment, you just never know.
So that brings in the shortstop for Durham, Malou. Has reached base with a single today. He's played a really good defensive shortstop outside of one mishap earlier. Taps this one to the shortstop. Fields it on a hop. Nowhere to go with it, so he'll have to put it in his back pocket. It's a single in my book. And 2 runners now aboard on back-to-back soft contact. Not really much you can do about that if you're Tavares.
Nope, not at all. That one is one where it just slowly matriculates its way back in there.
So brings in Ludlam. He was the starting pitcher today for Durham.
Yeah, he scored a run. It was the only RBI of the day. No, second. Let's check that. There was one of 2 RBI in this RBI World Series.
1-0. Popped up into shallow left field. Ortiz coming on. Dives. Can't make the play. Shortstop will throw on to third. Ball gets away. Nobody's covering home. Now Tavares is there to throw to the plate. He got him. Throw to second. They'll eat it. But out is recorded at home. That was Ullenberg, the runner, who got tagged out at home. Great awareness by Tavares to come home when Bedlam was happening on the field.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so again, what it comes down to is composure in this situation, Cam, where even when mistakes happen, when errors happen, you still got to play defense. There's still plays to be made, and despite the errant throw towards third base, just doing a good job of getting back to it was Briggs. He got it over to Tavares, and you keep the score as is, and that's the most important part.
Squeeze. Tavares one-hands it, throws it home! He got him! What a play by Tavares! My goodness! A one-hand, bare hand grab, tosses it to his catcher, and the tag is there seamlessly.
Grab your popcorn. That's all you got to say. That's big time right there. Back-to-back impressive plays there from the Guardians defense. And just keeping it in there, just being able to know, hey, you can't allow any runs. The most important player to deal with is the guy coming to home plate and not exchanging outs for runs, but trying to get outs at the plate and getting back-to-back is there. And I'm also giving Durham some credit as well. You've got to go after it, and you're in a state where you want to add some insurance runs. No reason to be conservative. Be aggressive, and they still now have a runner just 90 feet away.
So runner's still at the corner. Runner goes, and there with ease is Van Vicon. Mills, 1 for 2 today, trying to cash in. 2 ducks on the pond. The pitch. Tap to the first baseman, flips to Taveras on the run, steps on first. Those were 3 of the hardest outs he's probably ever gotten, but Taveras gets his team out of trouble and keeps this thing at bay as we move to the top of the 7th inning. Cleveland's got to go. Let's see what they can do. Nine, 1-2 due up in the order for Cleveland as we move to the top of the 7th inning. It's Marcelo Woodbury to lead things off as he will pinch hit for OTs. Last chance for the Guardians as they trail 3-1. And I'll tell you what, on the other end, their pitcher Taveras has done a heck of a job. Last inning made 3 straight plays to keep this thing at bay. But now the bats have to come alive. And you mentioned it earlier, Cedric, how important it is for Cleveland to try to get a win here because if they go down 0-2, backs are really against the wall. That's
right. They'd have to win against Passaic, which I believe that last game we had was very close. I'll go check Game Changer real quick. But New Orleans was up 7-0 over Passaic, and so 7-2. Durham beat Passaic, and then in the later game, 9-0 over Passaic. So fortunately for the Guardians, they are in a win-and-in scenario even if they lose. However, if they win already right here, they have a chance to get an even higher seed in the tournament, especially if they can get a win over Durham. As for Durham, though, if they were to win this one, this would set up a winner-takes-all where whoever wins the matchup between them and New Orleans gets an automatic trip to the semifinal.
Tapper to the third baseman. He's going to field on a hop, throw across, gets past the first baseman. But Woodbury will stay at first. Almost looked like the foot of the glove of Renteral got stepped on almost by Woodbury, who was flying down the line. Kind of incidental contact there.
Yeah, that definitely was incidental. No intentionality with where that foot ended up being, and the ball ended up careening over towards foul territory. But fortunately for Durham, Woodbury decided to stay put at first and didn't try to advance to second.
Would have been a tough play for the third baseman to make either way. So, going to be a single in my books.
Got Carson Mitchell coming in to pinch it. So, again, emptying the benches, seeing if they can get some sparks.
Mitchell takes the 1-0 low. Good catch there, said. Torado had been the leadoff hitter for most of the day today. Singled in the first, tapped out in the second, and then walked in the fifth. So, want to see a little bit of change. And if you remember, Torado was the one who made the mental error at third base that, let's just say, it cost the Guardians potentially a couple of runs. This game could be tied. So.
Yeah, but you can't put that on one player at all. You got to have a full team effort. Situations happen. And, again, you have wins as teams, loses as a team. In a situation, instead of a fly-out, could have gotten a base hit there, could have cleared the bases, tied it up. So don't want to put it on one player.
This one's tapped to the right side. Fielding it easily will be the first baseman. He'll take it himself and record the out at first.
I like that there from Renteral. So not only on his way to first base did he do a good job of not risking any error, any situations by getting it over to Minty there, but he also, as soon as he stepped on that first base bag, he was staring down the runner Woodbury as he was trying to maybe glance towards third, and he had to go back to second. Just good work, good defense there. And despite the runner getting to second base, it's not too big of a problem right now for Minty and Durham. It's all about the runner that's right up at the plate right now that represents the tying run.
So brings in Martinez, the right fielder. He walked in his last appearance. Leaves it upstairs, ball one. This is that type of situation, if you're Cleveland, you want to pass the baton from guy to guy, see who you can get across the base paths. There's a 1-0. Line drive, past the third baseman, base hit. Woodbury's going to round third, but he'll stay there. Throw goes to the cutoff man in Dawes. Runners at the corners, one out. And here comes Shepard, the shortstop, to dig in.
That's big time right there by Martinez. And whenever the Guardians, they needed any sort of play, he has been the guy. 2 for 3 and a walk. He has the only run of the day for the Guardians and almost brought in another. But Woodbury decides to stay at third, going to trust the offense to generate some more hits.
And they're going to trust Shepard to stay in this spot, who is 0 for 2 today with a walk. Pops it up, first pitch on the infield. Renteral camps under it, makes the catch for out number 2. So down to their final out now is Cleveland. And Colleran will have to reach base to pass the baton on to Taveras, who really deserves a chance to try to keep his team in this game because he's done it all day long.
Yeah, he's warming up in the on-deck circle. We'll see what Colleran can do. He already does have a base hit. As for Minty on the other side, he's looking to earn a save, a 3-inning save.
Martinez takes the bag with ease, and now the tying run is at second base.
So now you're in a situation where it's just one big base hit will tie up the game.
Manti will work from the windup. Pitch is fouled off. Now the crowd has grown to even more. A couple more fans joining after the New Orleans game has now completed over in Teamwork Field. 1-1 misses low.
Heck of a job there by Mills. The only run of the day for the Guardians came on a pass ball situation, so you just got to be careful for any of those sequences.
That's really the only blunder he's had today. He has been a stone wall behind the plate. 2 balls, 1 strike, 2 outs, 2 on. The pitch. Line drive to right field. Makes the diving catch. Does Ullenberg, and the ball game is over. What a play. Ullenberg took his first step back like all outfielders do, but couldn't quite find the path of the ball immediately. Dives and makes the catch, and Durham improves to 2-0.